So again, good morning, everyone. And again, we'll start as normal with the short motivations. First, try to quiet your mind, calm your mind by watching the breath. Then we can try to generate good intention. For example, by contemplating, thinking, purpose of my life is to be not only just concerned with myself, but to be help and benefit to all sentient beings. And not only help and benefit, but greater help, benefit. And that is to help them to overcome and eliminate their own karma and the delusions, which are root of all their problem and suffering. And to help them to achieve not only temporary happiness, but lasting true ultimate happiness. And to be able to help them in that way with our own direct experience, then we ourselves need to be free from all the delusions, obscurations, and generate all the positive inner qualities, all the spiritual experience or realizations. And to achieve fully enlightenment as soon as possible. And in order to achieve the fully enlightenment, we need to practice. To practice, we need to be reminded of the practice. And for that very reason, I'm going to listen and trying to integrate as much as possible whatever we have learned and studied. Okay, so refuge and Bodhisattvas prayer. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chedan Sogi Chonam La Changju Padu Dane Kyas Geshe give sonam ke dola penje sanke dola sange chedan do ke sonam changju pado dane. Geshe give sonam dola penje sange do para sho. So far, we went through up to verse number 6. So beginning with the first verse where understanding and recognizing the potential of the human life, and through that understanding, trying to make most of it by taking essence from that, and that is to really practice the Dharma, not only Dharma, Mahayana Bodhisattva practice. And then not only we need to practice that by understanding that life will come to an end and it can come to an end anytime, and therefore trying to practice the Dharma as much as possible right now without postponing it whenever we have opportunity. And in order for the success of our meditation practice, then we need to have a better environment, more free from environment that is not so suitable, and then creating more suitable conditions, environment, and not only free from the unconducive environment and having create a conducive condition, but also trying to avoid from being too close physically from the negative friends that can again discourage our practice or distract our practice, and then trying to be around, physically close and around, where good friend or spiritual friend that can inspire us, that can help us, that can encourage us to in our practice and motivate in our practice and inspire and encourage in our practice, so that our practice continue to increase and improve. So I think more or less we have kind of covered those with the 6 verses. So far that was what it. And we're in verse number 7, and here is going to the refuge. So going to the refuge is a very kind of entering the gateway to the Buddhist practice and the path. And the object of the refuge is the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. As Maitreya said, I think in his the ornament of the sutra, the Buddha Dhamma Sangha is the refuge for those who aspire or who wish liberations. And so again, the reason to go to the refuge, to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, is to liberate from the samsara, to liberate from the delusions. That is why. And for that purpose, then the unmistaken refuge is Buddha Dhamma Sangha. And that is also main purpose for going refuge to Buddha Dhamma Sangha. We don't go to the refuge Buddha Dhamma Sangha to, for a small matters, Buddha Dhamma Sangha is not like not to fix my problem every day, small problem. The Buddha Dhamma Sangha is to to show us the path, to inspire, to help us to liberate from the samsara and the delusions. And so, and for that, refuge or such has to be such three jewels. So that is why bound, in verse number 7, bound himself in the jail of cyclic existence of the samsara. What worldly God can give you protections? So even there is a worldly God, very powerful worldly God that can give you protections, from maybe, illness, protection from poverty, or protection from different things, but they cannot give you protection from being cycling again and again in samsara, because they themselves are still in samsara. And in order to protect you and free you from the samsara, it has to be someone who is free from samsara themselves. In order to protect you from delusions, it has to be someone who is free from the delusion themselves, not someone who is deluded themselves. And so therefore, the three jewels, which will not betray you, this is the practice of Bodhisattvas. Then by understanding the three jewels, the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, is the correct and right, unmistaken, unbetrayable refuge to help us, to guide us, to inspire us to liberate from the samsara and the cause of the samsara, the delusions. And with that understanding, then we go refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha with the total convictions, with total faith, in order to liberate oneself and all sentient beings from the samsara. And then we go for refuge. And so that is this is the practice of Bodhisattva. So, as again Maitreya explained, with the example, he says, Buddha is like the doctor that can diagnose your illness correctly, and so the Buddha is the one who diagnosed our illness of the delusions. And then Dharma is the actual cure, the medicines, and like the medicines. And Sangha is like the assistant, the nurse, in same way, so Buddha is the teacher, through his own direct experience, who show us how to liberate from the samsara, how to free from the delusions. And then the actual cure, the actual refuge is the Dharma. Then by following the Buddha's advice, teachings, instructions, then we actualize the Dharma within our mind. The wisdom relies on the emptiness, and that is the Dharma. And when you actualize that Dharma within ourselves, then that is the real refuge. That is the real refuge. That is the one that really gives you the protections. When you develop that wisdom within yourself. And then Sangha is that those who have developed the Dharma within themselves, and so that can help us in our path, to share, to support, so that is how we go to refuge, with a strong wish to actualize Dharma within ourselves, and in order to do that, then through the support of the Sangha, and then also to wish, after having actualized the Dharma within ourselves, and to become Sangha ourselves, and eventually become fully enlightened ourselves. So with that, then we go for refuge. So that is a refuge. And then, so up to here, in terms of Lamrim, then it is kind of the practice of small scope. And next one, verse number 8, in terms of Lamrim, then it is the middle scope, the practice of the middle scope. And the small practice of small scope, middle scope is like a preliminary foundation for the practice of the Bodhisattva, the great scope. So in the verse number 8, the subduer, so referring to the Buddha said that all unbearable sufferings of the bad rebirth, story. The 8 is still part of the small scope. The 9 is the middle scope. The subduer said that all the unbearable sufferings of the bad rebirth is the fruit of wrongdoing. Therefore, even the cause of your life, never do wrong. This is the practice of the Bodhisattvas. So here it explains about the suffering of the lower rebirth and karma, and the unbearable suffering that is experienced in the lower rebirth is due to their own negative karma, due to their own negative actions. So, and not only in lower rebirth, even in higher rebirth, as a human being, whatever suffering we experience, whatever suffering we experience, whatever unpleasant experience we experience, whatever unfortunate, is due to, our own action in the past, is a result of our own actions, and with that understanding, then with that understanding, we try to purify all the negative karma that we have created in the past, and we try to not to create more negative karma as much as possible. So there are two things. First, reflecting on the karma, understanding the nature of karma, all different experience we experience, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, they're all a result of our own action, our own karma. So with that understanding, the main root cause of our own problem and suffering is our own karma, more than anything else. Even though external and others can contribute and play in factors and contributions some way, but the main cause is our own karmic potential, due to our own actions and the karmic potential led by such actions manifesting in that, in the form of that experience, that unpleasant experience, So if we do not want any suffering, if we do not wish any suffering in the future, then we have to stop creating more negative karma, the cause of such suffering, as much as we can, we try to stop creating more negative karma. And for whatever we have created in the past, knowingly, unknowingly, then we try to purify them. And so then we can purify them, And there are many purifications practices that taught by the Buddha, meditate, some of the powerful practice, the practice in relation to the Bodhisattva purifications, 35 Buddha purification practices, also engaging in the practice or reciting the sutras for purifications, meditating on emptiness, and generating bodhicitta mind for purifications, creating holy objects, or contributing towards the creation of holy objects as a purifications. And so, there are many different form of practices for the purifications. But whatever purification practice we do is important to make sure that the four opening power are there within the practice for purification to be more powerful, more effective, the four opening powers. I don't think I will go in details, the four opening power. The opening power reliance of object, the opening power of regret, the opening power of resolution, the opening power of the antidotes. So whatever different form of purification you do, but it's important to have those four factors, the opening power, as part of the purifications. So engaging in that, then is the Bodhisattva practice, because in order to be more benefit and help to others, in order to achieve fully enlightenment, to be more benefit to others, if you have better conditions, you will be able to practice better, more easy to practice, less difficult, and also you will be able to help more others. But due to our own negative karma and then due to negative karma manifesting in a problem and sufferings, whatever form of pain, suffering, problem, then it becomes much more difficult to focus, to practice, as well as to be more help and benefit to others. And therefore, in order to be more help and benefit to others, also we need to purify those negative karma as much as possible. And it is said, if we do the purification correctly, there is no negative karma that cannot be purified. Every negative karma, no matter how horrible that we might have created in the past, they can be completely purified if it is done correctly, properly. And then verse number 9. So up to 8 is the in terms of lumbering part of the small scope, and 9 in terms of the lumbering is the middle scope. Like a dew on the tip of grass, pleasure of the three worlds. So three worlds, the desire world, the form and formless world, last only for a while and then vanish. Aspire to never-changing supreme state of liberation. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. And when we talk about here, when it says aspire to the never-changing supreme state of liberations, when you talk about liberation, there are three types of liberations. Or in general, you can say two, individual liberations and non-abiding liberations. That is the state of the Buddha. And so for the Bodhisattvas, what they aspire is not an individual liberation, but they aspire non-abiding liberations or the fully enlightened state. For the arhat, of course, they aspire for individual liberations. So here is saying, whatever within the three world high rebirth, these three, the world of the human desire realms, part of the desire human, and then form and formless God realms, whatever pleasure there is, whatever pleasure that we experience, ordinary pleasure, contaminated pleasure, or joy and happiness we experience, they are ever changing, never lasting, in impermanent nature, and it comes and goes. And so it can never satisfy you fully. That can never give you true satisfactions. Such samsaric pleasure or samsaric pleasure and happiness can never give us, true lasting satisfactions. So here giving like a dew, on the grass, the moment the sun arises, it's gone, it's gone. So it's very temporary, very short, very unstable, very unreliable. It's there only for a moment. And so that is. So here, we try to understand, as long as we're in samsara, as long as our birth is result of our karma and the delusions, as long as our existence or life is under the influence or control of the delusions, we are never free from the suffering. Either we are experiencing suffering or pain. When we are not experiencing suffering or pain, we are experiencing suffering of change. When we are not experiencing suffering or change, we are experiencing suffering of all pervasives. And sometimes we experience all three suffering at the same time. Sometimes we experience two suffering at the same time. Sometimes we experience three suffering at the same time. But we are experiencing the suffering of all pervasive 24 hours, as long as we are in samsara. So we are never free from the sufferings. When we say suffering here, we are not talking about pain, physical pain or emotional pain. It just means, we are always slave of our own delusion and karma. We are never free from that. That itself is sufferings. When you have no freedom, when you become a slave, when you become prisoner of something else, that itself is sufferings. In 24 hours, we are slave and prisoner of the delusions, until we are free from them. We are prisoner of our mind, and our mind is prisoner of the delusions. And so, and therefore, as long as you're samsara, as long as you're under the control of karma and delusion, you are never free from the sufferings. And with that understanding, and with understanding, actually, it's not something that you have to experience all the time. You can free from that. It's not like that. You cannot free from that. We can free from the samsara. We can free from the delusion if we put effort and if we practice. And so with that understanding, and you are understanding when you are free from the delusion and when karma and the samsara, then that is when you achieve, real freedom, real liberations, total freedom, total liberation, and true lasting happiness, true lasting happiness. And therefore, that is what the state of the liberation is. And so therefore, with that understanding, then try to generate a strong wish or aspiration to achieve that everlasting happiness of liberation or nirvana or the freedom, And in order to achieve that liberation and freedom, the way to do is through the practice, through the path, the practice of, Eightfold Noble Path, or when we kind of summarize, then it's through higher training, the higher training of ethical discipline, samadhi or shamatha, and then wisdom. And through that, then one can free from the total free from the samsara and the delusions. And when you're free from the samsara, there's no more sufferings. When you're free from the delusion, there's no more sufferings. Okay, so then next one, from next, then it started the main actual practice, the main actual body of the Bodhisattva practice, from here, then in terms of Lamrim, then that is here, it starts the practice of the great scope, the Bodhisattva practice. So in terms of that, then, verse number 10 is cultivating the bodhicitta mind. The bodhicitta mind, through the practice of by the method of, by relying or by engaging the method of 7 points of cause and effect. So here, when your mothers who have loved you since time without beginning are suffering, what use is your own happiness? So here is even you are able to achieve through the practice of 3 higher training, even you are able to achieve individual liberations, your own everlasting true happiness. But if the sentient beings who have been your kind mothers from the beginning of lifetime, not only one time, many, many times, and who have been most kind and compassionate, and also who have been so kind and compassionate, even when they are not mothers, as a sibling, as a grandparent, as a friends, and also, even when they are not our family and friends, still also they contribute in kindness through that kindness, as a stranger, through many times. We have received so much of kindness of them. And so after having received so much of kindness of them, and when they are suffering, how can you ignore them? How can you neglect them? How can we pretend that we don't see them and just be okay with our own happiness? So through such reflection, contemplation, then we come to understand, not only from Dharma, not to talk about from Bodhisattva Dharma point of view, even from Dharma point of view is not right. Even if we don't talk from Dharma point of view, even ordinary world is not right, it's not correct. Someone who has been so kind, loving, caring to you in the past so many times, who gave their own happiness, who sacrificed their own happiness for you, who gave everything for yourself, and when they are suffering, and you pretend you don't see them, you ignore them, you neglect them, and just being okay with your own happiness, is absolutely incorrect. It's absolutely not right, you know. So with that understanding, then, therefore, to free limitless living beings, develop the altruistic intention. This is the practice of the Bodhisattva. So with that understanding, then cultivate a strong loving kindness and compassion thought in order to help and liberate all sentient beings, to free from all their suffering and cause of suffering, and to lead them to ultimate happiness and cause of happiness. And not only cultivating that loving kindness and compassion, the wish to free from the suffering and cause of suffering, and the wish to lead them to happiness and cause of happiness, but to cultivate the special attitude or universal responsibility to do that myself. That I myself is going to liberate them from suffering and cause of them suffering. I myself is going to lead them to happiness and cause of happiness. So cultivating that strong, special attitude driven by that true love and compassion. And even though you have this very strong love, compassion, and special attitude, but at the moment, even as much as you want to liberate from their suffering and cause of suffering, even though as much as you want to lead them to ultimate happiness, but we ourselves, when we are in samsara ourselves, when ourselves is under the control of the delusion, when we ourselves have become the slave of the delusions and karma, then we cannot help them to liberate from the karma and delusions. When you yourself is confused, how can you help them to free from that confusions? When you yourself is kind of being washed away by the currents of the big uncontrollable river, how can you help someone to free from that? So with that understanding, then you develop a strong wish to achieve fully enlightenment. The state that's free from all the delusions, free from all the obscurations, the state that have actualized and obtained the highest state of mind, who has obtained all the positive inner qualities, highest level of love, compassion, bodhicitta, wisdom, who can understand both reality simultaneously at the same time, the state that can be in both meditative equipoise at the same time, to be able to help and benefit sentient beings simultaneously, a state that has unlimited skills and power to be benefit and spontaneously without any effort. So then once we understand that, the nature of the enlightenment, what the enlightenment is, what the fully awakened state is, what the fully enlightened state, and then, you understand only if I could achieve that enlightened state, then I can be such a great benefit and help to all sentient beings. And when we have that, then you generate the wish to achieve that fully enlightened and that fully awakened state, driven by that love, compassion, and special attitude. And that is the bodhicitta mind. That is the altruistic intention of the bodhicitta mind. And again, at the very beginning, when we meditate with a lot of effort, when we contemplate, meditate strongly, maybe we feel that bodhicitta mind a little bit in that moment. we might have that bodhicitta, feel that bodhicitta mind. We feel strong. We might feel strong love, compassion, strong special attitude, and a strong wish to achieve that fully enlightenment, driven by those loving kindness, compassion, attitude, special attitude of mind. Very strong aspiration, strong wish to achieve that enlightenment. We can have, we might be able to develop that in our practice meditation. But then, when we are not really meditating, contemplating, then we might not feel that. But when we put effort, we might feel that. But when we don't put effort, when we don't meditate, we might not feel that way, and with that. But as we practice more and more, and then slowly, it requires less and less effort. It comes more and more easy, more and more naturally, more and more spontaneously. And then we reach a point, then you have that, the altruistic intention, the mind arising, without any effort, effortlessly, without any effort, effortlessly, day and night, all the time. When we reach that state, then that is when you have generated the bodhicitta mind. Not only with effort, but when we are able to have that mind effortlessly, whether you are meditating or whether you are not meditating with effort, whether you try to, it just comes naturally, spontaneously, effortlessly. When it comes, then that is when you have developed the bodhicitta realizations, the bodhicitta mind, and that is when you become bodhisattva. That is when you become bodhisattva. That is then, regardless wherever you are, regardless who you are, that moment you become the bodhisattva, And you enter the first bodhisattva path, the path of accumulation, the bodhisattva path of accumulation. You enter the first path, and you become the bodhisattvas. And from that moment, all the virtue practice you do, then become bodhisattva practice. And from that moment, once we have that bodhicitta mind, then each moment you accumulate incredible amount of the merit moment. Even when you are sleeping, as Nagarjuna Shantideva said, even when you are sleeping, you are creating a lot of merit. So in one of the sutras, it says, if the merit of that bodhicitta mind were to have a form, this space will be too small, and it is a merit created in a moment of that bodhicitta mind, in one moment is such, So therefore, achieving Buddha become quick and easy, because the way to achieve the Buddha is creating the marriage, creating the marriage. When you have created enough merit over the time through different practice, then you achieve the whole bodhisattva path is that, creating the merit through different practices, And when you have that bodhicitta mind, you are able to create merit so much And because the merit you create so much, that means it leads you much more closer, quickly and easy to enlightenment. Sometimes, yeah, that was one of the advice by all the Katamba masters, all the teachers. If you want to achieve enlightenment quickly, and if you want to achieve enlightenment in easy way, practice the Bodhicitta mind. That is the advice. If you want to achieve enlightenment quickly and easy, practice the Bodhicitta. It is said Adisha was in Bodh Gaya, by the Holy Stupa, doing pilgrimage, circumambulation, doing practice. And then, he asks, what is the most, what is the practice to achieve enlightenment quickly? And then the manifestation of the Tara. And Tara was Adisha's main daddy. The manifestation of Tara, said that, practice the Bodhicitta mind. That is the quickest way to achieve enlightenment. That's the quickest way to achieve the enlightenment is the practice to develop the Bodhicitta mind, practice the Bodhicitta mind. And as I mentioned, the reason why it becomes quick is because once you develop Bodhicitta mind, you create merit. So much merit each moment, each second. At the moment for us to create merit with a lot of effort, it's hard to create. But when you have Bodhicitta mind, you don't require effortlessly, you are creating merit all the time, day and night. Even as I mentioned, even when you are sleeping, as Santideva said, And as Katamba Master says, if you really practice the Bodhicitta mind, that itself can become the practice to accumulate merit and purify as well as the purifications. So Bodhicitta mind is one of the most powerful antidote or method to purify as well as accumulate merit. And so that is the Bodhicitta mind. And the Bodhicitta mind is the very heart of the Bodhisattvas practice. What differentiates between the Arhat and Bodhisattvas is not through the wisdom, it is through the method, the Bodhicitta mind. In terms of the wisdom, they both have same wisdom realizing emptiness. In terms of the practice of moral or ethical discipline and medical concentrations, sometimes the Arhat has much more higher medical concentration and the wisdom compared with some of the Bodhisattvas. So what makes Bodhisattva unique, special, known as the child of the Buddha, is because of that Bodhicitta mind. In one of the sutta, Buddha give examples, he gave an example how a newly born child of the king, the prince, newly born prince overpower very wise minister with so much experience and very wise learn. because of being born in that family, because he is the prince. So therefore, he's higher than the minister, just by the birth itself in that family birth. Even though prince is still unexperienced, is newly born, unexperienced, doesn't have same level of intelligence like the minister who has so much experience and intelligence and wisdom. But because being born by that lineage as a prince, he is the more higher and positioned, or he's more respected, or overwhelm the king in that way. Similarly, is said, like Arhat is like that minister. And the Bodhisattvas, the newly Bodhisattvas who has developed the Bodhisattva mind just recently, and even he or she does not have the wisdom realizing emptiness and even meditative concentration, but just by having that Bodhisattva mind, it overwhelms those Arhat with, even they have great wisdom and higher meditative concentrations, So again, so that is Bodhisattva mind. So and then next one is also part of the Bodhisattva mind, practice of Bodhisattva mind, and then it is again from here how to practice the Bodhisattva mind through the method of equalizing, exchanging self with others. Equalizing, exchanging self with others. And part of equalizing, exchanging self with others, there are different point of meditations. First equalizing self with others, which is that understanding that, just as we want to be happy and do not want suffering, each and every sentient being also have that wish to be happy and not to suffer. And so in that we are same and equal in that, we are no different from others, sentient beings. They are no different from us, so we all are same and equal in that. So that is the first point of the meditations in part of that technique. And the second and third is, meditation on shortcoming of, or the fault of selfish attitude, and meditating on the advantage and goodness or benefit of cherishing for others, and through that meditation, by understanding how this selfish attitude is the root of all the pain and suffering. So then we try to abandon that, we try to reduce that, we try to minimize that, we try to overcome that as much as possible, because that selfish attitude is the main obstacle to develop the Bodhisattva mind. As long as we have the selfish attitude, then we cannot develop the Bodhisattva mind, And therefore, because that is the main obstacle, so we have to reduce and overcome that. And in order to reduce we have to understand how harmful that is, how harmful that selfish attitude is, or self-centeredness, and how that is the root of all our problem and sufferings, On the other hand, then we try to think the benefit and goodness of the self-cherishing thought for others, because the cherishing thought for others is the main cause for the Bodhisattva mind. The more stronger sense of cherishing thought for you have, the more easier it is to develop the Bodhisattva mind. The more quicker you are able to develop the Bodhisattva mind. And so in order to cultivate that strong mind of cherishing thought for others, then we have to understand how that cherishing thought for others is the root of happiness, temporary ultimate happiness, root of our own happiness, root of happiness for others, everyone. And so part of that meditation, then that is where here in the verse number 11, verse number 11, that is where it is talking about the shortcoming or the fault of cherishing thought for others and the benefit of cherishing thought for others. So all sufferings come from the wish for your own happiness, you know. So here what it means is having a wish for your own happiness itself is not a problem. You know, having wanting to have a happiness for all sentient beings, including yourself, is not a problem. But it becomes a problem when we become obsessed with that. You know, it becomes a problem when we overly cherish it. Cherishing yourself is not a problem. You should cherish yourself just as we have to cherish other sentient beings. Because we are one of the sentient beings. You should cherish yourself just as you would cherish other sentient beings. But over cherishing yourself become the problems. And that is what selfish attitude or self-centeredness is about, you know, overly cherishing on the expense of others' well-being, on the expense of others' happiness, you know, or, you know, you cherish yourself so much overly, you know, you totally become blind to others' well-being. You totally ignore to others' well-being. You know, you totally become totally unconcerned or no feeling for others' well-being. You know, so that is that kind of selfish attitude. You know, self-centeredness. So that is the root of all the suffering, as it says. You know, just as Shantideva said here in Arjuna, and also yeah. And yeah, if we really check it, it is that. It is that. All the sufferings are a result of our own karma, our own actions. And such negative actions are created due to selfish attitude. Due to selfish attitude. You know? Due to selfish attitude. Why we take the life of others? If you have not selfish attitude, if you cherish others just as you cherish yourself, you will not take others' life. The reason, without much thought, someone can easily take someone's life is because of selfish attitude. You know, doesn't care about others' life. It's all about my life. You know, as long as I can protect myself, it's okay. Even I take someone's life. As long as it gives me a joy by eating whatever or using whatever, you know, even it hurts others, even it hurts their life, doesn't matter. Have no much that is why selfish attitude. Same thing, why we steal others. If someone cherish others, just as we don't want someone to steal ours, we'll be upset if someone steal our things. You know, we will be upset. If someone is concerned with others, if someone cherish others' feeling, then you will not also steal others. But because you don't care about that person's feeling, it's more about what I want. I need that things. And then doesn't matter what other feel, you just want for yourself and you steal. And then that's how we create negative karmas. So you can go with all of those different negative karmas, such as 10 non-virtuous actions, And if you go, they are related. You can see it comes from the selfish attitude, self-centeredness, So those negative karmas, the suffering that we experience are a result of our own negative karma, which are very much rooted in that selfish attitude. Very much rooted in that selfish attitude. And that is why, as here it says, how all the suffering come from selfish attitude, self-centeredness. And then even we don't look from karmic point of view, if we try to see the problems, the suffering that is, that we experience in our life, as well as that what we see in the world, is the result of the selfish attitude. Why some people who powerful countries, powerful peoples, powerful in different ways. Some people powerful due to the different positions, and why they take advantage of those who are more vulnerable and less powerful, or rich ones taking advantage of the poor ones, powerful taking advantage of the weak ones, country to country, individual to individual, because of selfish attitude. Because I want more, Who cares? I have more and you have less. I still want more. I don't care if you have less. I don't care if you have weak, as long as I get what I want. So that is, why there is so much poverty, so still there's so much suffering in this world. It shouldn't, but still there is, because of selfish attitude. Due to selfish attitude, even though when I have more than I need to share, I'm unable to share because of my selfish attitude. If I don't have that selfish attitude, if I'm more cherishing for other, if I'm more concerned for the person, I would be able to sacrifice a little bit of, instead of being able to have 2 meals, maybe I might be able to be okay with 1 meal. Instead of spending 20 for my meals, I might be able to be okay with spending 10 and spend the 10 for others. But still we are unable to do it. We are unable to do that because of selfish attitude. I'm more concerned with my well-being, my enjoyment, my life, how much, and it's more about the fear, if I give that, what will happen to me, instead of what if I don't give that, what will happen to that? As Shantideva said in the Guide's Both Way of Life, the attitude of, if I give to others, what will happen to me, is what he called devil attitude. And the attitude that if I enjoy myself, what will there be left to give to others? That is divine attitude, as he said. And it is true. It's true, Even though we know that we can, like everything that I do, I can make it more smaller, simple, less, and with more resource, I might be able to reduce so many pain, but I'm willing to do that. I'm unwilling to do that. I'm not willing to sacrifice that. Why? Because of that selfish attitude, because it's more important for me than that. And so that is we can see on that level. And then in our everyday life, it's clear, our self-centeredness, the self-important, the self-centeredness is the key to all the problems. When we have that self-centeredness, we feel like we have to be the center of the world. Everything should revolve around you, And when that doesn't happen, we get hurt easily, It's all about everyone had to love me. Everyone had to be respectful to me. Everyone had to like me. Everyone had to support me. Everyone had to agree with me. That is how our self-centeredness feels. When we have that self-centeredness, we want to be the center of the world, the self. And that is how we feel, I don't have to be nice to others, but others have to be nice to me. I don't have to love and like everyone, but everyone has to love and like me. I don't have to agree with others' view, but everyone has to agree with my view. When it comes to the other view, when we don't agree with it, it's good to have a different opinion, different view. Is good, is better for the society. But when it comes to someone disagreeing with you, we don't feel that way. He or she is not supportive. He or she is not supportive. That is how we feel. We feel hurt. We feel hurt because we feel he or she didn't support me. And why do we feel that he or she didn't support you or feel hurt? Because you feel, somehow they have to agree with your view somehow. And because they didn't agree, they have different view, and then you feel like you are not supported. And because of that self-centeredness, And because of that, that's why you get hurt. You feel unsupported. And then you experience the suffering, pain. On other hand, if we don't have that selfish attitude, that self-centeredness, if someone doesn't agree with you, you will not feel that hurt. You might not feel they are not supportive. You will just feel, okay, they have different opinion. They have different view. That is all. You might just feel they have different view, different opinion. That's all it is. You don't feel they are not supportive of you. You don't feel they are not supporting you and thereby feeling hurt and thereby feeling pain and sufferings. And it comes from that selfish attitude, And if you really examine, every time we feel hurt in our relationship with others, why we feel hurt, it's because of self-centeredness, selfish attitude, The Buddha will never feel hurt. You can have totally opposite opinion. You can kind of attack him verbally, physically. He will never feel hurt because he don't have that selfish attitude, that self-centeredness, Never feel that mental, emotional hurt, Someone might be nice, someone might not be nice, someone might agree, someone might disagree, someone might praise, someone might criticize, but he never feel hurt by their behavior, actions, in terms of feeling mentally or mentally, emotionally being hurt. Never feel that because there is no self-centered, selfish, And due to that selfish attitude, self-centeredness, expectations, conditions, and when those conditions and expectations are not met, disappointment, hurtful, all these feelings, all those different painful feelings is the result of that. Check it yourself honestly. It's not about, if you are honest with yourself, truthful to yourself, when you feel hurt, why am I hurt? If I don't have that selfish attitude, self-centered, will I feel hurt by that behavior, that action? Check it yourself, Check it yourself and find out yourself. Not because Buddha said, Nagarjuna said, not because Shandeva said, but find out yourself, To me, I always feel when I'm that, I feel there is that myself, because of that my selfish attitude, And if I didn't have that selfish attitude, I will not feel that hurt, and I will not have to go through the suffering and pain of that, But because of that my selfish attitude, or because of that my self-centeredness, then definitely, If someone ignore me, why will I feel hurt if I don't have selfish attitude? But if I have selfish attitude, self-centeredness, I feel hurt because you feel they should respect me. They should treat me better. And that person didn't treat me. That person didn't show me respect. Let's. And then perfect Buddhas are born from the thought to help others. So then here it's just giving Buddha is just an example, but all goodness, all the happiness, all the positive are coming from the thought to help others, which is the cherishing thought for others. The cherishing thought for others. So all the happiness that we experience within the samsara or beyond the samsara, the happiness of fully enlightenment, the happiness of arhat, the happiness at Bodhisattva path, bhumi, different level of happiness, inner satisfaction, joy, all of that, as well as the happiness, joy we experience in while we are in samsara, they all are result of, cherishing thought for others. They're all a result of cherishing thought for others. It all comes through cherishing thought for others, So, yeah. Therefore, with that understanding how all the suffering come from, all the sufferings come through selfish attitude, overly self-cherishing, and how all the happiness come through cherishing others. With that understanding, then, therefore exchange your happiness for the suffering of others. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. Then you try to change. Then you will try to exchange the attitude, we try to exchange the attitude from being too selfish to being cherishing others, Then instead of cherishing yourself so much, we try to cherish others more and more, and we try to let go of cherishing, too much, self, less and less, we try to reduce that, and through that, and we try to exchange the attitude, at the moment, we don't mind so much if something unpleasant or suffering happen to others, but we are very much always trying to protect ourselves. We don't want suffering. Even the most tiny is all the time trying to protect ourselves. And when it comes to others, sometimes we might feel little care, but we don't really try to protect as much as we protect ourselves. You know. When it comes to us, we cannot take even one small unpleasant words, you know. And when it comes to others, we don't mind. You know, sometimes we might think, oh, that was bad, that was unkind, that was nice, that was unkind, that was not nice. Sometimes we might say something, sometimes we might take action, not take it. But it's not same when it happens to you and when it happens to others, you know. And even that, we are talking about some others. If you are talking about someone you dislike, you don't mind it. You might even encourage, you know. You might even encourage someone to say bad about that person's, you know, and you might even say yourself, you know, and encourage others to say. And so you don't mind hurting someone, you know. But when it comes to you, it doesn't matter whether you make a mistake or not. You don't want that, you know. And so instead of that, then, you know, we try to protect others from suffering as much as possible, whenever possible, you know, whenever possible, you know. And we try to give happiness, you know, whenever possible, or increase and trying to give the cause for happiness in whatever way, whenever possible, as much as we ourselves. So trying to change the attitude, changing the attitude, as well as trying to, in actions, also trying to protect others from suffering as much as possible, trying to help them to improve and increase their happiness as much as possible. And that is the practice of the Bodhisattvas. Okay, exchanging self with others. So exchanging self with others means exchanging the attitude. You know, at the moment we are overly self-cherishing. So now we train mind and exchange it for cherishing others more, you know, and cherishing oneself less. You know, cherishing others more, cherishing oneself less. At the moment, we cherish ourselves, overly cherish, and we kind of do not cherish others, or even we cherish is very, very little. We don't cherish so much. You know, so that is here we try to exchange that. And so from here next is, you know, transforming the difficult situation or adversary situations or problem, suffering into the path, you know, exchanging that, transforming them into the path, you know, utilizing whatever unfortunate, difficult, challenging adversaries, situation, events, experience, people, other beings, whatever we encounter, we try to do to that. Then we try to turn into make it to direct our mind into the practice, into virtues, into positive. And so that is. So first one is, you know, even if someone out of strong desires, of course, this is just one example of the desire, you know. It could be any of the motivations, you know. It could be out of jealousy, it could be out of anger, it could be out of ignorant, it could be out of desire, but whatever the motivation is, due to one of those negative motivation, due to one of those negative feelings, steals your own wealth or has stolen, if they are stealing or has stolen in the past. Normally, of course, because of our selfish attitude, we get very upset and angry about that. If someone steals our things, we get very upset, disturbed, agitated, So here, when you are trying to practice the Bodhisattvas path, and when you are trying to practice the lojong, the mind training, then, even when such things happens, you don't allow yourself to be so agitated and upset and angry by that. You don't get upset, agitated in that, Instead, you can think, purpose of my life is to be help and benefit others. And so these things, whatever they stole, is going to help them, benefit them, their families. So the purpose of my life is to serve and help someone. And by them being able to take it away, even though, without my permissions, they take it and it is helpful for them, benefit to them, so be it, So instead, you try to be happy with that. It is helping them. Someone is getting help from that. Someone is being benefit from that. So like that, then dedicate to him your body, positions, and your virtues of the past, present, futures. This is the practice. Instead of that, then you dedicate that whatever he or she has stolen to them, you give from your mind, you let it go and say you have it, make most of it. And if you dedicate that person create less negative karma too. When you dedicate and when you let it go from your mind and say, now it is yours, take it, it is yours, it's not mine anymore, it's yours, make most of it. When you are able to do that, not only you don't get disturbed, agitated, angry, but also, so not only it also helps that person to create less negative karma. And on top of that, if we can, dedicate, even my body or other position, whatever, or all my virtues, may all this become beneficial to you, may all this become helpful to you, and then, kind of. So here you can do practice of Tonglen, and especially giving, you try to, think of the persons who stole it, he or she must be, he or she want some things that they don't have, or they want something more, and if they have that will give them happiness, and therefore because they think that will give them happiness, and so in order to have that happiness, they took that things. And so with that understanding, with a wish to help them to have happiness and cause of happiness, then, you dedicate that things, and on top of that dedicating, then you can visualize, all your body, your position, all your wealth position, and all your virtues 3 times. And then when you breathe out, you visualize sending all this in the form of white light and the wind, and the moment it touches that person's, that person receive all the happiness and cause of happiness. The person become very happy, and then you are also happy because that person is happy. Through that, then you can do that. And taking and giving, Tonglen, and especially in here is the giving. Giving all your body, position, virtues through the visualization and practice and dedications and sending that. So here, the practice of Tonglen. And so again, if we are able to do, then it can make huge difference in terms of. Also, then by doing that, you also stop unending karmic, because we stole from them in the past, now they are stealing. And then the next time, again, we will be stealing from them. So it's kind of endless circles. And so by now, you are not, by making that change, then you can change the karma from unending circle of that by dedicating that, and instead of being upset and angry and that, all of that. And of course, mentally you feel more peace, calm. Of course, then instead of leading to anger, it helps you to develop your love, compassion more further. So in that way, you are able to transform this into something positive, something in the path, even though something that happens a little bit unfortunate, but not allowing that unfortunate to disturb and agitate and become more negative, but instead you turn and transform into something positive, something positive, something beneficial, something on the path. It is not easy, but definitely it is something, when you train, it is possible. It is mentioned even the author himself, Home Sambo, there's a stories that, one time he was invited in one of the sponsored families, and then they gave him many offerings, and then on the path, he was robbed by some robberies, thief robberies. And again, because he's such a practitioner, his mind was calm, peaceful, peaceless. And then when they were going, he said, wait a little bit. And told, I haven't dedicated, I need to dedicate, And so he took time to do the dedications, dedication. And I think that was in Sakya, when in that Tibet. And then he told, even there, he told, if you go this way, maybe his benefactors are in that, and they might get suspicious of, because of the things, it looks similar to what they gave to me. So maybe you better to go that other way. He showed them the other way, that the other people will not be suspicious of that. And that is such practitioners. Different response in how we will respond. He dedicated fully. He was not disturbed. His mind was calm, peaceful, and he dedicated, and he even helped them from being, again, suspicious and maybe beaten up, whatever, and showing him the other path. And so, and so again, he is able to do that because of his practice, And so also we have the potential if we really put into the practice. Yeah, so that is all. I can take caution if there is any cautions. Speaking of,
yes, Karen has a question.
Yes, please.
I still have a problem with the statement that you said, quote, the suffering that we experience is the result of our selfish attitude, end quote. Of course, but I don't understand how that makes sense when it's the person being murdered, terribly traumatized by the other. The other certainly has the selfish attitude aspect, no question. But the one who's experiencing that terrible whatever, they don't have a selfish attitude. I mean, they're innocent. Yes? Because I know it brings up karma, and I asked you this the other day, but it's relevant here too.
No, it is, again, you are looking immediately. We are talking for many. I have been murdered because I murdered them in the past, many lifetimes. Due to my selfish attitude, I have murdered them, just to give an example. And then due to that karmic potential seed still in my mind stream, and if I have not purified, if I have not experienced it, and then a certain lifetime, certain cause and condition comes, and then due to certain cause and condition, that my karmic seed the karmic seed from that I murdered someone in the past, ripen in that moment. And then that is what happens. So it is a result of my karma of murdering someone in the past that is ripening now. Not only that karma, but of course certain cause and conditions there that come together to ripening of that. And the karma that I have created in the past of murdering someone is a result of selfish attitude. So in that sense, that is
Okay, all right.
But of course, it is one thing for me to feel that way and to say to someone who has murdered saying is your selfish attitude or is your karma.
Yeah, really.
That is not even it might be true, but it is not kind and compassionate way of looking at it. So that is something we don't talk about, we don't say about it, or it is your karma, or it is because of your selfish attitude in the past. But when it comes to ourselves, that is how we try to practice. When it comes to ourselves, we try to see it is our own karma, is the result of our own karma, is the result of our own delusions such as selfish attitude and other delusion in the past. So it is to train our mind. Instead of blaming others, we try to take the responsibility. But of course, when it happened to someone, even that is truth, but is sometimes, even it's trying to say some truth, we can be very hurtful and harmful. And so it is not our business to say or even think so much, even to think that way. We don't think of others. But when it comes to ourselves, that is how we should think. Okay. Any others? Otherwise.
Mary Ellen and Tintin Lama.
Okay, please.
Thank you, Geshe. I can easily see how if I ride my bicycle somewhere and then I lock it up and then I come back and it's gone, and I think, oh, well, someone has my bicycle now, so I'm offering that bicycle, so it's no longer my bicycle, and I rejoice in that somebody will get some benefit from that bicycle. I can see easily how that benefits my mind, how that benefits my mind. But if the person that came along and saw that bicycle and thought, not my bike, but I want that bike, and they see that bike and they take that bike, and then they think, yay, I have a bike now. How does my having let go of it affect the completeness of their karma of having seen it, taken it, and been happy about it?
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely they are going to create negative karma to a certain degree, whether you dedicate or not dedicate it. If you dedicate it, the karma will be a little bit less. Negative karma will be a little bit lesser. But if we don't dedicate, we still feel it's mine and you are holding or it's mine and then someone's taking it, then that negative karma can become more stronger for that person in that relationship. But either way, they do create some certain level of negative karma. Okay, in that case. The other things that is, so should we report the police or not? So that that person doesn't keep on doing that with others and creating more and more negative karmas. Not only negative karma, but also even in this lifetime, they could get in trouble. The police can get caught then, and they could have a lot of problems, all of that. So should we report or not? Then that is something individually we have to make our own decisions. The main thing is that we shouldn't be so upset and angry. Keep mind calm, peaceful, and trying to dedicate in that way. And then in terms of, out of compassion, because we don't want them to create negative karma, then maybe if it's needed, the best to report it, then easily report it, but if possible, if the motivation should be compassion to help them, and even if the motivation is not really compassion, at least we shouldn't have a bad feeling, evil feelings out of disturbing mind as part of the training in this practice. But yeah, in some cases, out of the best intention motivation, reporting might be best, not because you want the bike yourself, you are willing to let it go, you have no problem with that, but maybe it's just to help to create more safe environment in that area to others, as well as for that person to create less negative karma. So then that is another factor. Yes, Venerable.
Geshe, maybe you just answered this, but if there's a case where you see someone doing something wrong, like maybe hitting a child or bullying or something, and from what you've just taught today, you would handle your reaction inside your own mind. But there might be cases where it's skillful, if you can do it skillfully without emotion, to say something to the person, even if that risks upsetting them, because you can't tell beforehand if it would be helpful to them or if it would be harmful for them. So how do you respond in a situation like that?
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, for us, the most important for the practitioner, the first most important is, as you mentioned, working your mind, that you are not disturbed, agitated, angry. To keep your mind calm, peaceful is the most important things. And if possible, to feel compassion for even them, for having creating such negative karma, Even we cannot feel compassion for the person's perpetrators, at least not having an ill will, negative feeling undisturbed. On the basis of that, then next is, as you mentioned, I think it comes to individuals' situation and individual persons, what kind of, how to respond, not respond. If we respond, should we say something? Should we didn't say something? Or should we report somewhere? Shouldn't we report somewhere? This is something that, by understanding the situation better, what might be the best, what will be the, so then on the basis of that, then you make the decisions. Again, of course, like myself being unenlightened, I might think this is the best, but it might not turn out it might not be the best, but at least you try to do with your best intentions in that moment, best intentions to help, to help someone from being bullied again, and as well as from other person from allowing them to bully and create negative karma, as well as that kind of behavior. So definitely sometimes certain action need to be taken, sometimes we might have to say something. How we say it, that is something that depends on our skillful means, how we say it. Sometimes they are going to be offended no matter how we say it. In some cases, sometimes not saying might offend them as well. So we can try with our best according to our ability, understanding in that moment, in that time. And we just have to figure out ourselves, sometimes in certain situations saying something is the best. In certain situation, noble silence is the best.
Yep.
And in certain situations, so it depends. It depends on the situation, the other persons, everything's. and our ability to communicate better and all of that. So, yeah.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Thank you. Okay, we do the dedications. Gewadi nyodo da lama sangye jogyo ne do chi kama lupa ye sala weba sho chanjo sen choren boche ma ke pa na ke kuch Gewa nyamba meba yang kong le kong do pe wara sho. The wish-spending, wish-fulfilling jewels, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparable kind cleansing God, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. Fearless teacher and assembly of children of Victorious One, Savakas and Pratyaga Buddhas, Victorious Losang, Father and Son, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite land, please bestow the virtues and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teaching through explanation and practice, you wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While starving single-pointedly for the sake of the Victorious One's teaching and soul gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for all mother living beings, you suddenly departed with the peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of blessing of the ocean of three jewels and the great wave of Bodhisattva of children of Victorious One, may the smile of reincarnation swiftly beam in the glory for fortunate disciples. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
See you, all of you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Yes.
Bye.